Hello everybody, here we are back at our workshop. My name's Colwin Way. We're going to be looking today at today's daily deal. You may have seen me very enthusiastically announce today's daily deal, December deal for daily December deal, and it's the Crown 5-piece set of woodturning chisels. And I thought, like I did last week when I mentioned the JSP hood. And we've done a demonstration on the bowl corer. Anything that I think is a really good deal, I'm just going to mention it to you because it's Christmas time, as you may have discovered, and Christmas presents and all that. So I've got the set here. We're going to play with it. I'm going to do a couple of little projects. So there's the little set, okay. And it's I get told off it's only the wrong price, £169 I think it is. But it's a really good deal. It's you got the 5 essential chisels in there. What not essential chisels? The ones that I find the most useful. You've seen me demonstrate for months now, and we've used these same chisels in all of the demonstrations. So we've got a skew chisel, a bowl gouge, a spindle gouge, roughing gouge, and a parting tool. So we're going to try and use all of them in 2 projects. Again, one project you've seen me use, or you've seen me do a couple of times, and that's been a spindle-based project. It's that table leg, because it sort of covers everything in a spindle. It starts with a square section. It goes into fillets, coves, beads, using the skew chisel for parting, for V-cuts, for rolling beads, all those sorts of things. So it's a great exercise for something like that kit. But then I want to look for something a little bit more interesting to do with the bowl gouge. So I've got a piece of teak here. I thought, well, what a perfect little time of year. We could do something like a peanut bowl. So, you know, tiny little bit of timber, this one, tiny little bowl. So we'll go through that, okay? As usual, ask questions. We've got Charlie behind the camera. He's going to be asking me your questions. He knows what he's doing now. He's been doing it most of the year. So we're all good to go. All right. So like I say, this is the Crown Cryo 5-piece tool set. So we're going to start off. This is a piece of softwood, a joinery grade softwood, so it's fairly dense softwood, good for turning. We're going to start off with a skew chisel. I'm going to create a fire break, basically because I want to keep a square section. So we're going to pretend that this is like a coffee table leg, a dining table leg if you wanted to upscale it, and we need that square section to put in a mortise. The mortise then holds the stringer that goes across the top. So if we just carry on and use a roughing gouge, what we're likely to do is break the corners away. So we need to create a fire break. Skew chisel's perfect for that. Once we've done that fire break, then we can take off the rest with a roughing gouge and we're good to go. So Charlie, do you want to bring the camera up? I can see you've got a question ready. Bring the camera up as you read the question. We're going to start with a skew, a 3/4 skew, standard skew, so no Colwin Way signature skew here. This is the standard skew. Slightly radiused edges here, so it's going to run along the tool rest nicely. I've done nothing. I've said to you before, when you buy chisels, whether that's turning chisels, carpentry chisels, carving chisels, hand planes, you need to sharpen them. The assumption is that they come ready to go. They come with a grind on, so they come with a linisher on. One exception would be flexi cut carving tools. They do come ready to go, but everything else needs a sharpen. So what I've done, with this one not changed its grind. All I've done is use my DMT, the little diamond file, just to put an edge back on that one. So that was ready to go. The others I've taken onto the tool mech, and I haven't changed the shape. I've just given them a nice edge ready to go. So they're nice and sharp, okay? So that's one thing you will need to do when you first get them. If nothing else, diamond file, all right? So there we are. I've added a line. That's where my pummel's going to be. Pummel is a square section on timber, okay? So we're going to make the pummel there, and I've strategically placed that notch. Yes, please, Charlie, sorry. Maybe a bit higher as well, I would have thought. That knot out the way, so I don't have to turn that.
So, will you be doing anything on the Crown Revolution with the 6 cutters in the future?
I absolutely can. Now, so what the Thursday of this week, I'm going to turn one of my many rough bowls you often see down on the floor. We're going to turn that to a finished bowl. So that's just going on from the coring that we done last week. Now, the Tuesday, the 15th, I have a free slot. I don't have anything, so I need you guys to give me suggestions on what we can do in that Tuesday. That's the first one, okay? That's the first one. All the other slots are taken, but there's an empty one there. So there's our first suggestion. If not, then we will still do it, yes. All right, Charlie. So I'm turning there at, let's say 1800 revs. We're going to start with the long point of the skew. And I'm just going to make a fairly upright cut first. Now I'm going to put a slight tilt on the skew. And make a progression of cuts getting closer and closer to the line. If I think I'm running out of space toward the line and I'm not deep enough, all I'll do is come the other side and make some space. There we are. So look, that's created our firewall, our break. Okay, so now we can rough this section down here, knowing that these corners are going to stay nice and sound. Lily's behind the scenes again as usual. She's putting up all these codes, so I should imagine that by now she's put the code up for the crown tool set. Fingers crossed, or she will be very, very soon. So let's go now with a roughing gouge. So the roughing gouge is ground about 45 degrees. Okay, 45 degrees. Now we're talking about this particular set, but to be honest, the grinds that I'm doing and the way I'm using them with any of the similar tools. So roughing gouge is a roughing gouge, 45 degree angle roughly, and measured on its internal flute width. This one's an inch, 25 mil, and we're just going to run those corners away. And if you use the tool upright like that, so the flute's facing dead upright, you're likely to grab a corner here. So I'm just going to turn them over either that way or that way, just to give myself a little bit more space. There we are, down to around, almost. Down to around. Let's have a look and see where we are with that one. And we can go, don't talk and turn at the same time, you get a mouthful of shavings. Now we can use the skew chisel again, because look, a roughing gouge. You know, rough by name, rough by nature, it does create a heck of a an untidy finish. So what we're going to do...
Oh, just quickly.
Yeah.
What are the 3 grub screws for next to the chuck keyholes on the SK100 chuck?
These here are, they're retaining this. This has got a very fine thread on the inside. This has got a very fine thread on the outside. This just gets screwed up and locks everything in position. So basically your the scroll in position onto the body. And then it's grub screwed up so it can't come undone. That's all it is. Nothing, don't undo them. There we are. So back to this one, we're going to plane with the skew. So I'm going to just run, it's about 45 degrees, my bevel angle here to the top line of the timber. Use the bottom half of the tool and just run along.
When using the skew in a planing cut, it starts to bounce and cause shallow waves. What are they doing wrong?
You've got one of two things happening. Either you're pressing too hard, or you're getting a little bit of vibration from the timber. Don't fret about it. I mean, especially if you get a long piece, you're going to get vibration anyway. Don't fret about it. It'll disappear in time as you get a bit of practice. On most things, if it is the vibration from the timber, then just sand it out. There we are. So just tidying up that surface. So we transformed the finish there from the rough finish of the roughing gouge to what we've got there, and that's a lovely ready to sand finish. So now we're going to do a couple of V-cuts. to the long point of the skew now, look. And I'm going to do another one over here. Note where the handle is. I'm keeping everything in line with the cut. If you start moving the handle wildly, that's where you're going to get these catches. Let's do a half beat. So I'm going to use the heel now. So look, we're going to rub the bevel. I'm going to tilt the heel in and just rotate around. Now the more practice you get with that, you'll start drifting from the heel and you'll be able to cut with the main part of the chisel. But don't try that yet, just keep practicing with that heel. Right the way around. Now whilst we're there, I don't want to put the skew down yet. I'm just going to create a shoulder on the main part of the leg. Just round them over. And then just crisp the bottom of that line up with the tip of the skew. Gives you a nice bit of definition. Right, so I'm going to stop the lathe. I want to show you where we are with the finish. I don't want any ragged edges. I don't want any torn grain at the moment because that's going to really give me problems in sanding. And then if I have to heavy sand, I'm going to start misshaping the piece. So I'm going to go to a spindle gouge next. So very much like a bowl gouge. Let me get the bowl gouge as well to show you. Spindle gouge and bowl gouge often get mistaken for each other. The bowl gouge is very deep in its flute and narrow generally, where the spindle gouge is very wide and shallow in its flute. Used for completely different things. This isn't anywhere near as strong as a bowl gouge. Spindle gouges are really made for this type of work, where the tool rest is nice and close to the piece. Bowl gouges are used quite a lot of the time a long way from the tool rest, just the shape of a bowl and so on.
Do you know the correct sharpening angle for the Cryo M42 razor edge half-inch bowl gouge?
Well, it's whatever angle you want, to be quite honest, and bowl gouges can be anything from sort of 40 degrees right up to 65 degrees. Most of mine in here are 55. The more pronounced skew-like you have them, they tend to be referred more to as detail gouges. So what we're doing here, again, is getting that bevel in there, making that rub, getting a nice clean finish, and rotating the tool. And that way we're going to get a nice crisp edge to these half beads. That's about the depth there, so I'll bring this end up. There we are, there's our little top feature. Now we're going to move on down. I'm going to stop the lathe, move on down to the bottom of the leg.
What's the best wood for usable platters?
Usable platters, beech, sycamore, beech, sycamore, maple, anything like that. I tend to steer away from, if it's going to be a usable platter and come into contact with vinegars and stuff like that, oaks, chestnuts, no, don't even try that. They'll blacken up straight away. There's too much tannin in them. But those inert knit timbers like the birches, the beeches, the sycamores, the maples, all that sort of stuff. That's quite a nice one. Bit of food safe foil on them. So we'll do a little bit of a roughing cut with the skew. So forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. And the only reason we do that is just to take a little bit of timber away quickly. Now we're going to put the bottom foot in. Nice deep skew, nice deep V cut here. little bung foot we're going to do. There we are, and round over the bottom where that meets the carpet, all the tiles. Now, there's our bung foot, a little bumper almost. I'm going to take the diameter of this bit down, just to be within the diameter of its bumper.
What benefits do you get with the tools being demoed over the Axminster Woodturning Tutor?
Sorry, say that again, Charlie, I was making a noise.
What benefits do you get with the tools being demoed over the Axminster Woodturning Toolset?
You get a better steel, a slightly harder material, longer handles, longer flutes. You've got to remember the Axminster craft tool set are made to fit a price. So as good a value as they are, things like flute length, look at the length of flute here, tool length, so to save weight and to save steel, they're a little bit shorter, all those sorts of things. The M42 steel, I mean, it's Sheffield steel. It's a great tool to use. The handle balance, the handle length, all of that sort of stuff that you get with a premium quality chisel. There we are. Let's go with a bowl gouge. We haven't used the bowl gouge yet. We're going to use it a lot in a minute. But
How high above centre is your rest using the skew?
Yeah, you may have seen me swapping around here. So every time I use a skew, the tool rest comes up above centre, and anything up to sort of 1/4 inch, 6 mil above centre is fine. But then the opposite when I use the other tools, I want to be down below centre. This is the bowl gouge at the moment. You could use the spindle gouge on that section. It'll take a little bit longer, but you'd get the same flowing curve. So now let's go back to a roughing gouge.
It's been 20 minutes.
Just to take off the bulk before we then go back to the skew and tidy up that finish, blend everything into one. There we are, we've got a little bit of that vibration we were talking about earlier. If you're happy with your skew work, then you can support with your hand, otherwise use a steady. Rotation of, or understanding rotation of lead is everything here. My fingers are nowhere near the tool rest, my thumb's on top, my fingers are underneath. Okay, and I'm just gently supporting. There we are, that's ready for sanding, and then copying. There's another, you'd have to make another, obviously 3 of those on a coffee table, or if you're doing a big kitchen table, then potentially 5 more of those to make a 6-legged table. Neat little practice piece that, and I was just demonstrating the different uses of all those tools. One we never used, just nothing on there suits it, would be the parting tool. I'm going to use it in a moment though.
If you're making matching ones, do you use many calipers or just keep changing for the different sizes?
So you got to, well, yeah, no, I use several calipers. You know, I don't want to be moving the calipers around too many times. But also shadow boards as well is another good way of copying. Shadow boards are basically a piece of timber or card where you've got the positions marked on them, and then you just keep marking as you do each one. There we are. We'll have a look at that again in a minute. Back there a bit, Charlie. Let's have a look at that one. All right, nice little practice piece, that one. Nice little bit of warming up. All right, there we are. So that's the leg. So let's move on to our toffee dish peanut bowl. This gives us a good chance to play around with lots of bits of kit. So I'm going to go for a slightly smaller tool rest now. So I've got a nice bit of teak here. I do like teak. I love the smell of teak. So we're going to go to a chuck now. So we're going to go to the SK114 with a set of sea jaws. Right, now if you have a look at the back, sea jaws, okay. We've got a screw chuck on the back of here, but because the screw is non-adjustable, I've packed it out with a couple bits of timber. That's all, because I didn't want to go too far into this piece. There's a fairly narrow bit of timber there. And now we've warmed up, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm not going to rush as much. I want to make this bowl from start to finish, and we're going to just reverse it as well, put it on a push plate. Yeah, so like I was saying, the 15th of December I have an empty slot, and I wanted to leave it open to you guys to give me suggestions as to what we're going to do. For Thursday we've got a bowl to do. I've got the setup of the slow speed grinder and the BGK 400, which has been asked since the summer, so that one's going to be done. We've got a special surprise for you on the 22nd. Nice little video there. But the 15th is a void, so let us know. Get your answers, your suggestions in. Lily is all ready. Right, first, Charlie, we're going to look at this side. I'm going to use, let's use the sea jaws. We're going to do a little sacrificial foot on this one. And I use the sea jaws to hold that foot. You've seen me use the speed sizer, Chris Fisher's speed sizer before. So I'm just going to use that as a little guide to my sea jaw size. What am I doing? I want to go internal. Oh, no, not external. Internal part of the sea jaws. There.
Do you do an inside-out ornament?
Do you know, I've never done that. Never done that. Maybe with a bit of practice we could give it a go. Right, so there, I'm going to use a parting tool just to cut in a little bit further back with the tool rest for the parting tool. There we go. We're going to have a dust extraction on in a minute. Teak is one of those timbers that does affect me a little bit, I have to say, even though it's a lovely timber. Just stop that one and move my dust extractor. Okay, so now I've got my foot. That's going to be sacrificial. Won't be part of the finished thing. Because I always forget it, I'm going to put a little centre mark in there now, because that's how we reverse later on. And then we'll start shaping. So let me put some extraction on. I'm going to start doing a pull cut first. So just back like that. But that's a dusty old gnarly bit of timber. Putting my hand up here just to stop me getting covered in shavings. Don't get caught in the trap of feeling that you have to use all of the thickness of timber. You can sacrifice a good shape sometimes by doing that. So when you've got that nice shape, that's where you stop. I'm just going to clean up the outside edge. And And then we're going to do a nice finishing cut. Stop the lathe just to show you. Look at that lovely flash of it. Now we've got to get rid of this before we start sanding. So we want a clean cut. So bevel rubbing.
Is the current pull cut that you're using rubbing the bevel or scraping?
A pull cut is not rubbing the bevel, a push cut is rubbing the bevel. Alright, so I'm just going to creep into the corner with the skew. A little scrape. Tidy up the foot. Remember that's sacrificial, that foot. Then we're going to sand. Now we're going to let the timber do the talking. There's some lovely flashes already coming from that wood. So we're going to get sanding. We're going to look a little bit more on Thursday at these, but I thought I've had so many questions about the bowl sanders that I thought I'd get a new one and show you what we've got here. So just have a quick peek on that. Charlie, that's that one. Part number on that one is 951142. And look, you get all that lot in there. So I thought this is another good value piece of kit. So why not get that one out? Let's go with a smaller end. There we are. See what we got in there. Nice little kit, that one. Loads of bits and bobs. We're going to play with it again on the bigger bowl at the end of the week.
Are you cutting below centre of the bow gouge or the bevel rubbing cut?
So I'm cutting on centre, but the tool rest is below centre. Okay, so let's start sanding. So I've got my hand abrasive as well. Alright, so we've got rotary sander, which I'm going to demonstrate. We've got hand abrasive. If it's really giving me issues, and again, I know I keep on about it, but Thursday we're going to play with it, I'll resort to power sanding. Okay, so we've got lots of options. So back on with that extract. So we're going to go from 100 all the way down to 400, 600 if the timber wants it. Okay. So we'll start off with a hand sand with 100. Teak has its own natural oils in, so you will find it gumming the abrasive up, especially when you get to the finer ones. But that's ready. We can go to a 150 grit now. So again, another hand sand. That big foot will disappear. That won't be part of the finished piece. I'll do a bit of rotary sanding now, only because I want to get the deep scratches gone. So a bit of rotary sanding. There we go, just have a look at that. So I want to have got rid of all those rotary lines. There we are. So now we go to the 240. We're going to do a big jump. 240. 400.
How is your extractor hose supported?
Now this is stay-put hose. Lily, will you pop the stay-put hose up, please? It's actually called stay-put hose. Sold in metre length, so I just buy a metre and split it in half. Really nice stuff, that. Well, you can see. There we are, that's a pretty bit of timber, isn't it? Nice pretty bit of teak. So we're going to be kind to it. We're going to put on a finishing oil, or food safe oil, depending on what you're going to use it for. There we are. Now watch this. This is where the colours jump. Really gives you a nice deep rich colour. Let it ooze in, let it soak. And then we're going to go to a 600 abrasive, 600 grits, and I'm going to start, just to cover so I don't cover myself, I'm going to start really slowly and start sanding that oil in. I've been putting dust extraction pipe up today. I have a new dust extraction kit which comes with all the pipe and the fittings. I'm not going to let you have a look at it yet because it isn't quite finished, but Thursday hopefully we'll have it all finished and I can show you and tell you what it's all about. There we are, that'll do us for the minute. I would stay probably another few minutes or so, but I want to finish something for you for a change. There we are. I can give that another burnish when we finish the inside, but look at the flash you get from that beautiful timber. Alright, oil takes around about, in certainly this temperature, we're in the southwest of England here at the moment, and it's fairly cool, probably about 5 degrees outside, so it'll be a good 12 hours, good overnight session before it's ready to go again. But you know, it's pretty, it just feels a little bit soft at the moment, that's all. But what a lovely bit of wood. Really heavy grain there. So look, we'll take out the screw chuck. We'll use the same jaws that I've got in there at the moment. We'll do the inside and then we can reverse it and take away that foot that we've got at the moment. So straight into the jaw when we've just come out. I can start thinking about the centre. This is a peanut bowl, this one, so don't have to go too crazy with it. Don't have to be too thin. The functional piece. Move my tailstock just out of the way for the moment because I need to swing the handle of the gouge. So dust extraction is going to go on again and we're going to use the bowl gouge. So at the moment I've got too much timber here, so I'll take that away and then we can start hollowing. So dust extraction on. Just going to tell Charlie to move back a little bit because shavings are coming his way. again, I'm going to do a pull cut first.
Where did you get teak for that price?
Where did I get teak? From the skill centre, actually. We had, I went to Meats, a very well known cabinet maker, and he had some bowl blanks that he wanted to get rid of, so I done the deal with him and took them all back to the skill centre. No, unfortunately I don't have any for sale. So I'm keeping the strength here, and I'm working on the first section of the outside rim. Like I said, I don't want to go too thin. Stop that, have a bit of a pinch for thickness, and I'm happy with that. We're all good. So next section. Pinch again.
Are you now cutting to the left of sound? Are you now cutting to the left of centre of the gouge?
Yeah, always to the left of centre. Think about the rotation of the lathe. It's going that way, so I want to be supported. Just have a double check to see where we are. Feel, let your fingers double check. I think I'm happy with that. I don't want to go too deep here because we're going to have a fairly flat bottom. Side back with the sanding again.
When you're turning bowls or spindles, where are you looking?
There's a couple of places actually. I would have thought it's 50-50. Sometimes chisel tip, sometimes the opposite side, just to see the cut. There's a real mixture of places, and also different processes require a different look. If I'm rolling a bead, I'll be looking at where the heel is. When I'm planing, I'll be looking at the surface of the timber and feeling what's happening with the skew. So there's a lot of different areas, and also skill level makes a difference as well. As a beginner, you should be looking at the chisel tip, seeing what's happening there. Once you develop the feeling, then you can afford to look in other areas. look at that one. I think we're there. Now we can move on. 150. Rotary sander now. I've just adjusted the rotary sander, so I've used the knuckle here and given myself more of a tilt there. It just makes it a little bit easier when doing this sort of thing. So I've got a 180 on the rotary sander at the moment. Stop and have a double check. Nice. 240 grit now. $400. A little bit of finishing oil or food safe oil. Highlight that timber again, you watch for the splashes. Really pretty. Really pretty. So again, we'll do a little bit of slow sanding. Don't get caught out with that one, always slow your lathe before you start it, otherwise you will get a face full. Now, once it starts to dry and get absorbed, you can start increasing the lathe speed. Give it back a bit of a burnish again. Yeah, like the lathe. Okay, let's just take that off for the moment. We're going to flip him now and take that foot away. But look, what a pretty bit of timber. Okay, Charlie, just go back a little bit. So, I want one of my push plates. Well, there's a really big push plate. I'm not quite sure we need to go to that one. Back a bit more, Charlie. Okay, so there's a really big push plate. I don't think we need to go to that one. That's a little bit too big and lumpy. So what we'll do, let's go to one of the sanding discs. Put that on there. And we'll just use a little bit of the router matting. Always have a bit of router matting hanging around. It's such good stuff to make little jigs. I'm doing a few more smokers over here. And some of the little jigs for making smokers just contain router matting. They're good contact, good non-slip contact for jigs and things. So yeah, I just have a few little pieces. Little pieces. Tailstock obviously needs to come on. Remember that that hole, or that little point we made on the back of the foot? That's what it was for. Charlie, thank you. I'm just going to pick up the little point that I made earlier. Don't forget gentle pressure. You can go through the bottom of the bowl from the back equally as much as you can from the front. Just cut a little bit of that away so it doesn't start sending up a bit of wind rush and hitting me. All these little bits can be used. Throw any of this away. Little jigs and things that needs little scrap ends.
Which of the stores is your base?
Is my base. So I'm not in any of the stores. I used to be in the Axminster store, but now I'm based in the Skill Centre. That's where we do our training and where we will be doing our videos.
Any tips on removing the nut on the slow grinder to replace with a CBN wheel?
Disconnect the power, hold on to the wheel, and yeah, a spanner. I think shouldn't be. You're obviously finding a problem there, but what we'll do if you're really struggling, just contact me separately, and we'll talk you through it. You can you use your phone to video it or something. We can talk you through that one. Shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem.
Got 10 minutes.
10 minutes? There we go then. So let's just clean the space away. Little drag cut, and then I'm going to go to the spindle gouge.
With the shape of the sea jaws, do you cut a groove in the tenon?
No. No, keep the tenon square. Yeah, just keep the tenon square and allow that little tooth, which is only about 2 mil deep, to be your grip. There we are. Let's just put the extractor on, take that down to a nice finish.
Any tips on using a chasing tool on the box?
Any tips on
Using a chasing tool on the box.
chasing tool? Chasing tool. I'm not quite sure what a chasing tool is. Sorry. Chasing tool. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that one. We're nearly done. We're nearly done. Look, all I've got to do is remove that, and that's that little peanut bowl finished. So we're going to put a slightly different chuck in. And we'll put a little sanding disc in there. So I'll use my pin jaws. Start off with a fairly coarse one.
I think it's a thread chasing tool
Thread chasing tool, right? Yes.
in the box.
We've done a little box a few months back. Have a look through the archives. We've done this little box here. It was one of my first attempts as well, so we had a 50-50 success rate. But we got it working for my first few attempts. It worked fairly well. Have a look through the archives in this series, and you'll see the video there. Right, one more little sand. Let's go even dinkier, finer. And that'll be us for this project. Bit of oil on there, of course. What I would do with this now, leave it overnight and then give it a bit of a buff tomorrow on the buffing wheel.
Can the Evolution 100 chuck hold the sander you're using now?
Yes, yes, it's the jaws. The jaws are the bits that you need to source. Now what I would say, probably not go for those. We're doing a new version of these in aluminium which will be better for you. They're not out yet, but in the meantime I would use something like this. Okay, no longer black, they're stainless steel, but I would go for some of those. They are pin jaws. Okay, Charlie, we're nearly there. So if you pop the camera back.
Could you not use the plate jaws behind you to take the pip off?
The plate jaws, yes, but it's just a lot of fiddling around. For a very quick project like that, it's just easy to put a plate like that on. A bit quicker for me. There we are.
And do you ever use a Longworth chuck for the bases?
No, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. There we go, guys. I just wanted to highlight to you that set of tools. Okay, we've used every single one, including the parting tool in the end. Alright, so just a quick overview of that. We used most of the tools to do our little table leg there, and then just a little peanut bowl, just as a little bit of an appetizer, really, ready for Thursday, because Thursday we're going to go a little bit bigger. Charlie, just pan around to the shelves. There's a few bowls up there, there's a few bowls down the bottom underneath the grinder. I'm going to pick one of those, a bigger version, a bigger one, not going to do a hollow form, we're going to do a bigger bowl, and we're going to finish that one off for you. I just wanted to show you how to convert, sort of moving on from our bowl coring last week, what happens in 6 or 7 months time when we're ready to take those bowls from the rough turn finish, once they're dry, to a finished piece. So that's going to be Thursday. Keep your ideas coming in for the 15th, our empty slot, okay? and we'll do one of your suggestions. So
Just a
John,
quick question.
Yes.
What size bow gouge is best for general use on a 10 by 18 size lathe?
10, 8, I'd 3/8. Go 3/8 bowl gouge. Half inch will end up stopping it too often, stopping the lathe too often. So go for a 3/8 bowl gouge. Is that it then, Charlie? Excellent. Thank you guys again for watching. Also thank you for all the messages that we're getting, me personally and Axminster. Also with the photos. There's some fantastic work coming in and really kind messages, so thank you ever so much. Thanks for your continued support and watching us here. There's lots of things going to be happening. There's going to be longer videos coming out for you to see, so bigger projects, lots of different camera views, all those exciting things to be coming in the new year. So guys, until Thursday, happy turning, enjoy yourselves, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.